Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, I could do this video and just do my regular shtick, pointing out leftist extremism, and of course we might do a little bit of that because it's accurate and it fits and it's right, but I think there's a more important point to make with this video. You know, we have all these leftoid activists who have dedicated their lives to supposedly, ending racism, poverty, wealth inequality, providing every service for free that you could possibly imagine, turning the world into a kumbaya utopia. You know, that seems to be the selling point. Vote for us because we care so much. We're all activists and we're gonna solve all problems. Racism, BTFO'd. Just donate to Black Lives Matter. That's the narrative. That's the marketing pitch that they sell to their audience. Yet, why is it that the more we progress into this activist era, where activism trumps all, screw the policies, just throw paint on a building, smash a window and the world has been solved, why is it in this activist era that everything is getting worse? And I really mean that, especially socially and culturally. That's the question we're asking today. We're going to cover a topic really quick and then we're probably going to delve into that concept. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we got this headline right over here from trendingpolitics.com. Target receives bomb threat for, quote, turning its back on the LGBTQ community. A Target location in Utah was evacuated on Friday after the store received a bomb threat. 5 additional stores were also threatened in Ohio and Pennsylvania through an email that said, quote, we will continue to bomb your targets until you stop cowering and bring back your LGBT merchandise, according to a report from Cleveland 19. A Target location in Layton, Utah was evacuated on Friday after receiving multiple threats. The threat was 3 sentences long and came from a bogus email address, Sergeant Oteson of the Layton Police Department told reporters. Elsewhere in Utah, authorities said stores in Salt Lake City, Taylorsville, and Provo were also threatened, and police were alerted after threatening emails were sent to local news stations. 4 locations in Northeast Ohio and another location in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania were also threatened in an email to Cleveland 19. Target is full of redacted word cowards who turned their back on the LGBTQ community and decided to cater to homophobic right-wing redneck bigots who protested and vandalized their store. The email to Cleveland 19 wrote, we won't stand idly by as the far right continues to hunt us down. Now, what they're referring to, I don't know if I should play the video on YouTube, but it's really just like this dumb kid who grabs a cardboard rainbow and throws it on the floor and steps on it once. It's just a stupid TikTok video for internet clout, but apparently that's serious vandalism, and the far right continuing to hunt them down. A little bit ridiculous. We are sending you a message. We placed a bomb in the following targets. The email continued, we will continue to bomb your targets until you stop cowering and bring back your LGBT merchandise. We will not be erased and we will not go quietly. A little bit of a weird email. Here's the actual email itself, and for some reason it seems to be sent to members@timcast.com. Very, very weird. Tim Pool chimed in, writing, timcast.com never received this email, and I have no idea how they got this screenshot. We did receive something similar, but not this one, which is odd. I believe it's a hoax intended to smear the left. It's possible. Well, it might be a psyop or a right-wing hoax. I mean, we can't determine that as of yet. It certainly seems as though, regardless of the Timcast email, the threats were sent to the actual locations themselves. Police departments were involved in the situation, made public statements, so the threats themselves apparently or allegedly did happen. Now again, where do we go with this? Leftist extremism, yada yada yada. We've done that a million times before, and I'm sure we'll continue doing that when it's necessary and when it's appropriate. But what I would rather focus on is just where we are. You know, all this activism, all this left versus right, this culture war stuff, these leftoids fighting what seems to be an invisible boogeyman of oppression on every single issue. Where's the good that it's producing? Black Lives Matter and other organizations, academic social justice crusades, which have focused on demonizing the white system, white hierarchy, white systems of oppression, constantly pointing the finger, pulling in cash, taking to the streets, vandalizing stores. Have race relations gotten better or worse? Ask yourself the question. The answer is unequivocally that they have gotten worse when it comes to the LGBT issue. I feel like we made pretty good strides in the modern day, especially in the early 2000s. People have equal rights for the most part. Everyone was accepting. The Obama administration or Washington at the time legalized gay marriage. People of faith had their issues, but for the most part, I mean, it wasn't really a big deal. Everyone simply moved on. The majority view is, I don't care about your personal life. I don't care what you do behind closed doors. That's your life. Live your life the way you want to do it. That's your life. Live your life the way you want to. I grew up in a time where we said that we didn't see color, and so you had black friends, you had white friends, Asian friends, Indian friends, whatever it is, depending on how diverse the community you grew up in, and it wasn't really an issue. And then all of a sudden, in maybe early 2010s and definitely picking up right before Donald Trump ran for president, the 2014 to 2016 era, this new sort of rhetoric and ideology came to the stage. Social justice activism. A lot of it seemed to follow Ferguson, and rhetoric started to get hyperbolic. That's the right way to describe it. All of a sudden, political stances became life or death. Activism and social justice in the modern day has become some sort of social media grift. The same thing we see with these TikTokers doing ridiculous stunts and ridiculous things for attention online to go viral. Well, it's the same thing with activism. How crazy can you make the story? How far can you push the social justice grift? How much division can you spread? How much of a freedom fighter can you market yourself to be online? People keep pushing and pushing and pushing, going further and further and further, trying to get as much attention as possible, all in self-serving manner. I mean, David Hogg's a great example, right? Hasn't really done anything, no real logic to his activism, but he puts a fist up and records TikTok videos, and pretty soon, probably after Harvard, he's gonna become a Twitch streamer or some nonsense like that. His activism has made him famous. It's caused more division and hatred, if anything, and hasn't led to actually any policy changes. And that seems to be the model. But it's especially more destructive on issues surrounding race, gender, and sexual orientation, where people take these sensitive issues and blow them out of proportion entirely. Governor DeSantis in Florida simply passed legislation that moves sexually inappropriate literature, or books, whatever you want to call it, out of libraries that are accessible by extremely young children. And these aren't just left-wing political books that he's picking and saying, ban it, because he's a fascist right-wing autocrat. No, the decisions are actually being made by parents. But somehow, that's an attack on LGBT rights, he's a fascist, and it's transgenocide. And now we're seeing the exact same thing in Iowa. Iowa law now bans lessons on sexual topics aimed at young students and beefs up parental rights. It's the exact same thing. The actual policies the legislation is described in the article. This legislative session, we secured transformational educational reform that puts parents in the driver's seat, eliminates burdensome regulations on public school, provides flexibility to raise teacher salaries, and empowers teachers to prepare our kids for the future. Education is the great equalizer, and everyone involved, parents, educators, and our children, deserve an environment where they can thrive. The rules of the state board shall require that an age-appropriate, multicultural, and gender-fair approach is used by schools and school districts. SF 496 requires schools to notify parents if a student asks to use a different name or different pronouns, the Des Moines Register reported, in addition to barring gender identity and sexual orientation lessons for young students. The bill also requires material depicting sex acts to be removed from Iowa school libraries, according to the National Review. I mean, it's not crazy stuff. It's logical policy that most parents, probably most Americans, agree with. And it's very targeted. It's only targeting extremely young students who probably shouldn't be bombarded with confusing sexual topics, especially not gender ideology. As you get a little bit older, you're already pretty much developed. Sure, you should learn about the world. You should learn that there's different kinds of people. I mean, you're going to learn no matter what you do. It's available and it's open online. But this is specifically targeting kids at a very young age in their developmental years, or their very malleable developmental years. This, however, gets this kind of reaction.
We are now homeless political refugees. We have 8 days left where we are. We don't know where we're going to go after that. I've been looking into housing. The options are limited. I can't get rid of my kids' pets, and that's making things a whole lot worse. But we also have limitations to where we can live because of my kids' medical conditions and my medical conditions. I'm starting to wonder if we should trade in our car for a van and try to figure out a way to just live out of the van. There's so much more happening that I can't even tell you. I don't know what we're going to do.
This extreme hyperbolic rhetoric of rights being taken away, what rights exactly are you referring to? Again, I'm still waiting for a response from leftoids on that one. The right to promote adult sexual identity to young children? It makes literally zero sense. That's not a right. The only rights involved in that situation are parental rights, parents getting the decision to decide what's right for their own children. You know, activism has become so extreme and so hyperbolic, constantly fighting this boogeyman or creating this boogeyman and justifying extreme behavior. Extreme rhetoric is going to lead to more and more extreme behavior and radicalism. That's exactly what we're seeing. That's why the left is resorting to violence more and more, because they've convinced themselves their rhetoric has gone so completely insane in the modern activist day that everything is justified, violence is justified. Apparently, threats, still not confirmed however, terroristic threats are justified because they're fighting a fascist authoritarian state. That's what they've told themselves. They're LARPing as freedom fighters, as the resistance taking on the Nazi regime. It's literally a LARP, yet they tell you that they're fighting to make the world a better place. They're not. And everything's getting worse. All of it. And what it's leading to is less tolerance, less acceptance, frankly, peace. I'd love at least a little semblance of peace in the modern day. Cultural peace. Peace and freaking quiet would be lovely. But no, things are getting hectic and extreme, and it's a direct result of radical leftism. Actually, I might as well bring this up at the end here. There's a study that was just released, which came to the conclusion that radical leftism is linked to narcissism and psychopathy. Couldn't agree more, and the proof is right in front of you. I've laid it out for years on this YouTube channel. The left has gone insane. They're enabled by the Democrat Party, they're enabled by the media, and of course the education system, and we better reverse course real quick or it's going to be the freaking end of an empire. There's a reason Vladimir Putin is constantly dunking on the West over this topic of crazy social justice nonsense. There's a reason the Chinese government is using TikTok as a digital weapon to market this crazy ideology to young children. Pay attention, folks. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.